Good day, YouTube. Today I'm going to speak about the topic: if you are a civilian right now and are thinking about maybe joining the military. Obviously, if you've looked at any of my videos in the past, my experience comes with the Air Force, and that's what I want to talk about. So it's a great way to live life, whether you go active duty or reserve. Those are two options. For the most part, I'm going to focus on the active duty side, and then at the end of this video I'll talk about reserve. So you would have to go to basic training or officer training school, depending on your commissioning source. If you go officer, so you have enlisted or officer, you have two options that you can consider. I would say compare to what you're doing right now. Compare what you're doing right now in your life as far as a job. And if you're thinking maybe I can do something different and that's what I want to do, and that's exactly what I did, is then definitely consider joining the military, whatever branch fits your needs. I joined the Air Force in 1995. I enlisted, and I just knew it was time for me to do something. I was making $12 an hour, which in 1995 was good. I worked at a photo laboratory in Hollywood, California, but it wasn't for me. I had medical benefits, I had an IRA. However, I knew I needed to do something with my life, something bigger. So when I joined the Air Force, that's the first thing I'm going to say is you're going to join the military. If you do, regardless of whatever branch, it's going to be something bigger than you, something bigger than me, in the sense that it is a team, and you go in as an individual, but quickly you're broken down and you are an individual of, as far as on a team, a big team, doing great things for our country. We defend the United States, whether it's here in the US, overseas, or in a deployment environment. So it's something that's bigger than all of us. The military is bigger than all of us, and that's something that I think is great, being part of an incredible team, in my case, the Air Force. So a big factor is, can you afford to join the military financially? What I mean by that is, what expenses do you have right now? I would recommend that you look at the pay scales for the enlisted side and the officer entry level, and then determine if that's something that you can make ends meet, depending on what expenses you have. I was 24. I didn't have a lot of expenses. I didn't do it for the money. I didn't even know how much I was going to get paid. All I knew was big picture. I need to get out of Los Angeles and do something bigger than my life. And that's what I did. And I have no regrets. Here I am 21 years later, 20 years of service. And it was the best thing that I could have done. I have some notes here. Something that you can do is look into the finances to see if you can afford to join. If the answer is yes, then I would say definitely consider joining the military, whichever branch works for you. Your options are, you can do 4 years or 6 years. You can enlist, or you can become an officer if you have your degree and you get selected for officer training school, officer candidate school. Both of them are good options. So I would say definitely look into that. If the answer is yes, I can afford to survive with any expenses that you have right now. I've talked in other videos about military benefits. I'll see if I can put a link at the top of this video, because there are endless benefits. When I say endless, maybe not endless, but travel, medical. You could be retired 20 years after you come into the service. So let's say you're 30 years old right now and you sign up, you join the military. 20 years later, at 50, you could be retired. Most companies don't offer retirements anymore. And the Air Force or the military across the board still has a 20-year retirement. And now it's a blended retirement. I've made a video about that as well. So you could be retired in 20 years upon entry of the military, which I think it's great. You can also invest, you can travel, there's medical, camaraderie. The benefits go on. And like I said, I'll put a link to a previous video that I made a long time ago on benefits. So those are some of the things for you to consider. I have some other notes as I park my jalopy. 4 to 6 years enlisted, if you do that. I've heard people say, you know what, I don't want to sign my life away. And that's something I disagree with, because I asked the question, can you afford to join the military? Let me ask another question to some of you out there. Can you afford to not join the military? Because what do you have going on in your life right now? Some of you may have a lot of great things going on. Maybe you already have your career. Maybe you have school. Some of you may have nothing going on, and maybe your time's going to fly by. It's going to pass you by. It started to pass me by. I got kicked out of a university and finally said, you know what? Let me go back to that original thought of joining the Air Force. So I could not afford to not sign up for the Air Force the second time I thought about it. Now, talked about briefly about going active duty. You get to travel, you leave your home. That's when you go active duty. If you go reserve, maybe you already have a career established, a civilian career, but you have a void in your life and you've always thought about serving, or maybe recently you started thinking about serving in the military. Will your job or your lifestyle allow you to go to basic military training, BMT, or the commissioning source, whether it's officer training school for 8.5 weeks, whatever time that is, and then return? If you go to basic military training, you're going to have to go to tech school. So think of it as you'll be away from your home for 6 months, and then you can come back to your civilian job and continue with that, and then do the part-time reserve or guard on the side. So that's another option. Have you ever heard of the term for the Air Force, citizen airman? And that is when you are a reservist or guard member, but you're also a civilian and you have your own career or maybe your education that you're working on. Citizen airman, so you're a part-timer. That's what I've talked about in this video, brief. I'm sure if you have questions, please put them below and I'll answer the questions. My goal is to answer 95% of the questions asked. That other 5% are just random people dropping off weird, irrelevant, or mean comments. I welcome all comments. If it's a serious question, I'm going to answer it. If not, I'll just laugh and move forward. So those are some of the things, but definitely do your research. Visit airforce.com, careers, specific to enlisted jobs and officer jobs. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and something I definitely believe in. I hope this has been helpful answering some questions, and if you have more questions, just let me know. Have a great day.